Alright, so what I thought I'd do today is do a recap of kind of everything we know, or at the very least everything that's been going around in regards to RE9. A lot of it is rumours and leaks, but there is some things kind of between all that that are actual kind of probably facts, like more likely to happen and more likely to be real in regards to the game. Some of it's about kind of the gameplay, general setting, story beat, as well as like release and announcement kind of expectations and stuff like that. So there's quite a bit going around. I do kind of want to just mush it all into one video. Again, with leaks and rumours, nothing is a fact until they say so, but let's go through it. So we'll start with the one I covered, well, in a whole video not long ago about the game being open world. And again, this is a leak, so again, could be complete bullshit, but I've covered it and other people have covered it, and it is down to a preference thing. But if it's going full open world, and again I do kind of want to reiterate the fact, full open world, I mean by that is like Skyrim or the Witcher games, big map, big open space, lots of side content, and it's vast. That I don't think would work in a game like this. I think having such a big, expansive, open area with a lot of nothing in between, a lot of filler stuff, wouldn't work. But if you're looking at games that already exist in Resident Evil, like Village and more recently the 4 remake, they are probably semi-open world, where you have these environments you can walk through and you can backtrack, and there is side things to go back and do later on, but it's still very much condensed to that zone. Like, there's not a massive map, it's a lot of backpedaling, which is, it works better in this series compared to an open map would, I think. But yeah, that's kind of been the buzz lately. Again, there's people who would want to give it a go if they did it right. There's people that just don't want to see open world at all. I'm kind of stuck because I'll play it anyway, but I would rather it not be a full open world. I do think it's more likely to be like 4 or Village, but again, we'll have to see when the game comes out or when the game gets announced. Off the back of that, we'll go for settings. So there's been a couple different settings that have been spoken about over the past like few months. One of them is kind of this like old abandoned kind of old style American town, and it's like more a supernatural game rather than like a zombie game. And I think, again, no, I don't think. Well, Resident Evil does have supernatural elements in it in some games. It's not very heavy on that. There are moments and there are sections in certain games where it is more like that, but for the most part it is a physical kind of enemy, because obviously it's about like bioweapons, mutations and stuff like that, so you're more likely to fight physical beings. But in previous games there has been some supernatural elements, but it's never been like the main enemy of the game has never been supernatural. So staying on the topic of kind of the enemies of the game, there was a brief period of time where people were saying that Wendigos were going to be a big part of RE9. Wendigos are an interesting one because they're more mythological, and I know that Village had like werewolves and stuff like that, but it was explained quite well. But Wendigos are kind of like this myth, and it's very specific to certain locations and stuff like that. If you've ever looked up like what a Wendigo is, you'll know that there's certain conditions around them, but again, it's Resident Evil, they can do whatever they want. But going off of the back of the end of Village, I don't see that happening specifically, but it is a cool idea. I'll give credit to that one. The idea of it is good, and there's not many games I can think of where Wendigos have been like a big thing, apart from like maybe Until Dawn, and that game was pretty good, so Wendigos are a good idea at least. Alright, so story beat wise, story beat, there's a couple ideas kind of swimming around, but the main one is obviously to do with the BSAA. If you haven't played Village by now, obviously spoilers, but end of the game, Ethan dies, but Chris manages to save Mia and his daughter, and you find out, because the BSAA go there to kind of deal with Miranda as well, but you find out that not only is Chris and his team rogue from the BSAA, they're not helping them, they're not with them at the moment, and that's all of the details we really have about that. But it does kind of explain maybe why right at the end of the game, because the BSAA were sending in bioweapons, and that's a big deal for like a lot of the story for Resident Evil as a series, For any people who don't maybe follow the storylines or new to the games, the BSAA are very much present in the older games, and they are essentially like the bioterrorism security unit. They are sent in when things happen, and yes, they were sent in when things happened in Village, but they were kind of using bioweapons to fight bioweapons, and it doesn't sound like that's what they should be doing, and it does kind of give you the sense that they're corrupt. There's a few files as well. If you've ever read through the Baker incident report in Resident Evil Village, it does go over the BSAA and how they're kind of up to something, so it does kind of lead into the theory that they're corrupt. Of course, it's a really interesting story point because it's such a big thing throughout the whole story of the whole franchise, but it also ties back to a lot of characters that have been missing for a while. So obviously we've got Chris, who is a member of the BSAA, one of the first, but then you've got characters like Jill and Sheva and Rebecca and stuff like that, Barry. They're all BSAA, and it's interesting to see if they'll return in some way, and people do kind of hope that in 9 we do see like a resurgence of some of the old characters coming back to deal with whatever the BSAA may be doing. So obviously like Jill and again Barry and Rebecca and stuff like that. Could be cool to see those characters again, but again, in terms of story, that makes the most sense, but it just depends how they go about telling that story, and if that is even the kind of the main storyline for 9, which I hope it is, because again, it's such a big thing just to leave on a cliffhanger, so I'm sure that'll be probably what it's about. Other storylines that need clearing up, and I'm going to make a video on this separately at some point, but you've got the Blue Umbrella, which is very briefly involved in Resident Evil 7 near the end, and was kind of left like where it was, and I don't think it should have been, because again, it's Umbrella, it's a big part of the storyline, it's kind of like the main enemy if you think about it, and it needs to be kind of gone into more detail about. And then you've got the Connections, which is the black market arms dealers that sell bioweapons, and that also is run by like old evil Umbrella members, and again, mentioned in 7, mentioned briefly in that incident report in a Village, but hasn't actually been brought back at all. So those storylines do need to be involved in some way, I would say, just to kind of clear everything up. But I don't know. I couldn't say for sure if they would kind of involve those 2 story beats. But if the BSA is involved in 9 in some big way, I'd imagine Umbrella would be as well. So we'll hope we can see that. And yeah, that's pretty much everything in terms of the information about the game. In terms of release, so far we have a general idea that it's going to be announced this year with the release of next year. I think the current rumoured release window is winter or late 2025. I'm not sure. Again, it's all kind of coming from people who are kind of reliable when it comes to leaks for the franchise, but again, release dates can change very easily. So for now, if it gets announced this year, I won't be too surprised. I really wouldn't, and I hope it is the next game that gets announced instead of a remake again. A release of the end of next year does make sense. I think it does fit quite well, so we'll have to see with that. But yeah, that pretty much covers everything so far. Obviously, when there is anything new in terms of leaks or in terms of official news, I'll be kind of posting it as soon as possible. But let me know what you think of all that down in the comments below. Anything that you want to see specifically with the game, let me know. Anything you agree or disagree on that we do know of so far, do let me know. And yeah, thank you all for watching and stopping by. Remember to subscribe for more Resident Evil content. I'll try and post as often as possible. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video.